Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're looking at a pretty hefty stack of sources, all focused on, well, conflict resolution, communication strategies, and emotional intelligence.
Yeah. Tackling that uncomfortable truth, conflict. It's going to happen.
Right, it's unavoidable. But maybe suffering through it is optional.
That's the goal today. Our mission is to give you the tools, really, to transform conflict, turn it from something you dread into maybe the biggest source of intimacy, closeness, connection you've got.
That sounds surprising, almost.
It can be. The initial truth here, and it does surprise people, is that the strength of a relationship, its longevity, it isn't measured by, never disagreeing.
Okay.
It's measured by the skill you bring to that cycle of conflict and repair, getting back on track.
That's a huge shift. So, okay, how do we get there? From fearing it to seeing it as an opportunity.
Well, we've structured the journey. We'll start with the basics, the absolute non-negotiable foundation.
Active listening. Empathy.
Exactly. Then we move into some more sophisticated frameworks, like nonviolent communication, principled negotiation,
And then wrap it all up with the big one.
emotional intelligence, the master key that kind of integrates everything.
All right, let's unpack this. Jump right in. Where do we start?
The foundation, absolutely, has to be active listening. Decades of research point to this.
And this isn't just nodding while you plan your counterattack.
Definitely not. It's proactive. A specific set of techniques, actually, designed to manage that defensiveness that flares up
How?
by focusing equal on the facts and the feelings being shared.
It sounds so simple, but man, getting it right feels hard in the moment. What are the core techniques we really need to nail down?
Okay, so active listening, it really needs 3 specific moves. These show you get it, you're connected. First is restating,
Meaning?
repeating the main facts, but in your own words, it's like an accuracy check. So if I heard you right.
Okay, so that shows you got the data, the interpretation, check the head part.
Right. But conflict is rarely just about facts, is it? It's driven by emotion.
Totally. So what tackles the feelings underneath?
That's the second move. Reflecting. This is where you feed back the emotional core of what they said.
Like, sounds like you felt really frustrated when that happened.
Exactly like that. And notice, you're not saying you agree with the frustration. You're just acknowledging it's there.
Makes it safer for them to keep talking, I guess.
It really does. And the final piece, validating. This was maybe the most powerful. It actually works on a chemical level.
How so?
It's about acknowledging the person's worth, the value of their perspective, even if you still completely disagree with their position.
Why is that so powerful?
The key mechanism. When someone feels dismissed, their body floods with cortisol, stress hormone, and the thinking part of the brain, the prefrontal cortex, it kind of shuts down.
Fight or flight takes over.
Pretty much. Validation acts like an emotional safety valve. It literally drops the stress response. When you validate someone, you're allowing their rational brain to come back online.
So you can actually have a productive discussion again.
Precisely. Validation turns that reactive, defensive mind back into a potential collaborator.
And that whole process, that's empathy in action, isn't it? Being able to understand, maybe even share their emotions, get insight into their needs.
That's it, exactly. And developing empathy, well, it means watching body language, listening to tone, and keep using that reflective responding, paraphrasing, summarizing.
To make sure you're really getting their reality.
Yeah, constantly checking. It's a commitment, really.
Yeah.
Trying to climb into their mental shoes, so to speak.
Okay, so we have the how active listening, empathy. But what if the way we talk, our very language, is part of the problem, even when we think we're being clear?
Now you're teeing up nonviolent communication. NVC.
Developed by Marshall Rosenberg.
That's the one. It's revolutionary because it transforms not just how we speak to others, but also, and this is critical, how we understand and talk about our own inner world, our self-awareness.
How does it do that? What makes it so powerful?
NVC shifts the whole game away from judgment, blaming, labeling, and onto universal human needs, things everyone shares.
Okay, what are the core principles?
Deep empathy, obviously. Non-judgment, so holding back on those labels. Authenticity, which means sharing your own feelings and needs honestly. And crucially for repair, responsibility.
Responsibility for?
For your own emotions and needs, not making the other person the cause or the solution for how you feel. Owning your stuff.
That's big. NVC also gives us that 4-part formula, right? Observation, feeling, need, request.
Yes, the OFNR model.
Okay, but I have to push back a bit here. When I'm genuinely upset, like really angry or hurt, the idea of calmly saying, I observe X, I feel Y, I need Z,
Ha!
it sounds almost clinical, too rigid for real life.
That's a totally fair challenge. And yeah, the
You're
formula isn't meant to be some script you perform perfectly mid-argument. Think of it more as a structured training tool.
training for what?
It forces you to pause,
Yeah.
to do the internal work first. You start with observation, just the objective facts, no judgment. When I saw the dishes in the sink. Not when you were lazy and left.
Gotcha. Then feeling.
Then you identify your feeling using specific feeling words. I felt frustrated. I felt disappointed. Not, I felt like you don't care.
Okay.
Then the hardest part, usually, the need. This is what we often skip right over when we're angry.
Yeah, we jump straight from, you did this, to you owe me that, or you should fix this.
Exactly. NVC makes you identify that underlying universal human need. What's fueling the fire? Is it a need for respect, for consideration, support, understanding?
Once you figure that out.
The final step, the request, becomes much clearer. You articulate a specific, positive, doable action. Would you be willing to check in with me before confirming plans next time?
And this is where NVC draws that really important line, isn't it? Between a request and a demand.
The critical distinction. A true request respects their autonomy. You're genuinely okay with hearing no. If they say no, you don't attack. You maybe explore why it's a no, or find another way to meet your need.
But a demand.
A demand is a setup. If they deny it, the person making the demand often gets punitive. Guilt trips, threats, passive aggression, you name it. Demands basically guarantee defensiveness. Requests invite collaboration.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. So moving from the communication style to the resolution structure, let's bring in negotiation theory. Principled negotiation from Harvard Law.
Right, PNN. Their stated goal was to produce wise outcomes efficiently and amicably.
And why was this approach seen as so revolutionary back then?
Because it fundamentally shifted the focus. Before PN, a lot of negotiation was just adversarial haggling over fixed positions. I want this, well, I want that.
Back and forth.
Exactly. PN taught us to separate the people from the problem and, crucially, to dig deeper, to focus on interests, not positions.
The underlying why?
Precisely. Why do you want that position? What need does it meet?
The sources use that great example, the two siblings arguing about their parents' anniversary party.
Perfect illustration. Their positions are fixed. One wants a restaurant, the other wants it at home. If they just argue about those positions, it's a deadlock.
Right. Impasse.
But then they dig into the interests. The sibling pushing for the restaurant, their interest is low prep time. They're swamped.
Okay.
The sibling wanting it at home. Their interest is low cost. They're trying to save money.
So once you know that.
The whole picture changes. They can look past restaurant versus home and find a third way. Maybe an affordable restaurant that does most of the setup, catering included.
And both get their core interest met. Low prep and relatively low cost.
Bingo. Interests unlocked to the collaborative solution.
This really highlights that distinction from the Thomas Kilmann model, the one with the 5 conflict styles. We often think resolution means compromising.
Yeah, splitting the difference, meeting in the middle.
But compromise is often described as like a zero-sum game, isn't it? Each person only gets partially satisfied. A 50-50 split. My gain is partly your loss.
Right. It's okay, sometimes necessary, but it's not the ideal. Collaboration aims higher. That's the 1/100 outcome.
Where both people get all their needs met.
That's the goal. It's achieved through synergy. And the key insight here is that you often need to make the conflict more complex to find that synergistic solution.
Wait, make it more complex? That sounds counterintuitive.
It does. But it's about expanding the pie before you divide it. Or, better yet, finding a way everyone gets a whole pie. You don't just split the difference on one issue. You bring in other factors, other needs to create a bigger, better solution overall.
Can you walk us through an example of that? Because 100-100 satisfaction still sounds a bit like a fantasy.
Okay, think about those two managers fighting over a meeting time. Remember that one?
Yeah, manager A wants 9 a.m., manager B wants 4 p.m.
Right. Manager A wants it early for clarity, focus. Manager B wants it late for project prep time. A simple compromise. Meet at noon, nobody's happy.
Right, mediocre outcome.
Collaboration, though, means digging into the why. Why 4 p.m.? Manager B shares, well, I need the prep time, and I was hoping for a more relaxed, social vibe to discuss strategy, maybe with food.
Bringing in other needs. Food. Atmosphere.
Exactly. Now, if Manager A's deeper interest wasn't just the 9 a.m. time, but the need for clarity and maybe team connection.
Then reframing the 4 p.m. slot works.
Potentially, yeah. Reframe it as a collaborative brainstorming session, plus a festive team dinner may be Mexican, like in the source example.
Yeah.
Suddenly, manager A gets clarity, connection, and food. Manager G gets prep time and the relaxed vibe.
The original timing argument just dissolves
Yeah,
because the new, bigger solution met multiple deeper needs for both.
that's synergy. You stopped arguing about the clock and started designing a better event. That's expanding the pie.
Okay, that's brilliant. But let's be real. Even with all these amazing frameworks, NVC, PN, we're human. Emotions are going to surge sometimes.
Absolutely unavoidable. We get triggered, we get flooded.
So we need a toolkit for de-escalation right in the heat of the moment. Let's talk about John Gottman's research on repair attempts.
Yes, repair attempts. Gottman calls them the relational lifeline. His research is incredible, shows that the ability to use these little positive actions to de-escalate is one of the single biggest predictors of a healthy, long-lasting relationship.
Wow. And the key is using them early.
Early and often. Don't wait until things are totally off the rails and the emotional bond is seriously damaged. Think of them like little course corrections along the way.
Give us some concrete examples, things we can actually remember and use.
Some are really simple but effective. Just finding common ground. You bring up a really good point there. Or, I didn't consider that angle.
Acknowledging their perspective.
Exactly. Or using a genuine, I feel statement. But crucially, the goal is to inform your partner how you were affected, not to blame them. Ouch, I feel really hurt by what you just said. Did you really mean that? The focus stays on your experience.
Okay. What about when things get really intense, like totally overwhelming?
The timeout is essential then. Recognizing you're emotionally overloaded. You know what? I think I need 20 minutes just to calm down and process this. Can we pause?
Taking responsibility for your own regulation.
Yes. But the most counterintuitive one mentioned in the sources, the one that makes people pause, is the request for physical contact. Mid-argument.
Right. The "can I please give you a hug"
Right.
example. I mean, who does that when they're furious?
It sounds totally absurd, right?
Yeah.
Especially if someone's really frustrated or angry. But the research backs it up. It often works.
Why?
Because it's a request that explicitly shares a powerful underlying need, the need for connection, for reassurance that the current argument cannot meet. It completely short-circuits the attack-defense cycle.
By changing the physical dynamic.
Instantly. It forces a relational reset that words alone were failing to achieve. It changes the whole energy, the chemistry in the room.
It's like a pattern interrupt. Genius, really. And the last one, the apology.
Ah, yes, the apology. Even if you stand by your position, even if you don't think your action was wrong, you can still genuinely apologize for how things happened or for the way this caused a disruption in our connection.
So you're apologizing for the impact on the relationship, not necessarily conceding the point?
Precisely. It shifts the focus immediately from assigning blame to repairing the bond, which is vital for moving forward.
Okay, this brings us full circle almost to the master key that kind of holds all these strategies together. Emotional intelligence. EI.
Yes, high EI, the research shows, predicts so much greater professional success, stronger relationships, better coping skills. It's huge.
Let's start with managing those really strong emotions like anger. How does EI help there?
Well, we circle right back to that profound lesson from NVC. Anger isn't bad. It's not a moral failing. It's just a signal.
A signal that a need isn't being met.
Exactly. Think of it like a smoke alarm. It's loud, it's urgent, but it's not the fire itself. High EI helps us stop just reacting to the loud noise of the anger. Instead, it helps us pause, look behind the anger, and find the specific fire, the unmet need that triggered the alarm in the first place.
Which then allows for those management techniques.
Right. Taking that time out, maybe deep breathing, going for a walk, whatever, helps you regain emotional balance so you can address the need, not just vent the anger.
Okay. Now, how does EI connect back to those Thomas Kilmann conflict styles we talked about earlier? Compromise, collaboration, avoidance.
Ah, yeah, the TKI data shows a really clear correlation there.
How so?
Well, people with low EI, they tend to default pretty heavily to the competitive style. My way or the highway. Very focused on their own needs, often dismissive of others.
Makes sense. What about moderate EI?
Moderate EI often correlates with favoring the avoidance style. They might try to sidestep conflict altogether, maybe because they lack the confidence or skills to navigate the emotional side effectively.
Okay, but then the high EI folks, the sources say they tend to use compromising most frequently. Why not collaboration, if that's the supposed 100-100 ideal?
That's a great question. It points to what high EI really is. It's about flexibility, adaptability. See, collaboration takes a lot of time and energy. Compromise is often more efficient, and it works perfectly well when the stakes are moderate. It gets most needs met reasonably well.
So high EI people save the big guns collaboration for the really important stuff.
Exactly. They can accurately assess the situation. Sometimes avoidance is the right call. Low stakes, low importance. Sometimes competition is necessary, genuine emergency. But they default to compromise for efficiency, and they pull out collaboration when the relationship and the outcome truly demand that deeper dive.
So it's that ability to choose the right style for the situation. That's the competence.
That adaptive flexibility, yes. That's the hallmark of high EI in conflict.
And before we wrap up, it's worth quickly mentioning those gender findings in EI measures.
Right. The research consistently shows women, on average, scoring higher on certain subscales. Things like emotional expression, empathy, interpersonal relations.
Which just underscores that these are skills, right?
Yeah.
Not fixed traits. They might be nurtured differently, maybe, but they are absolutely measurable and developable.
Absolutely. Anyone can build these emotional muscle groups if they commit to the work. These aren't just innate gifts.
So, wrapping this all up, what's the big takeaway for you, the listener?
I think it's this: conflict is normal. It's going to happen. But the way you handle it, that's what defines everything.
Using rigorous active listening, trying for genuine empathy, developing that skill to look past the positions to the underlying needs.
And having the courage to use those repair attempts early on, that combination, that's pretty much the recipe for a thriving, intimate, resilient relationship.
And maybe a final thought to leave people with, something provocative.
Well, building on that idea of managing triggers, since conflict in our lives often follows really predictable patterns, right? Same arguments, same feelings pop up again and again.
Yeah, definitely.
Consider keeping a conflict journal for a bit, or just actively reflect. The last few times you got really angry or really hurt, what were the common themes? What specifically was said or done? Who was involved? Where were you?
Identify the pattern, the triggers.
Exactly. Because if you can proactively identify those common triggers before they happen again, you shift the whole dynamic. You move from just repairing after the explosion to actual preemptive prevention.
So you anticipate the pattern and choose a different response before the alarm even goes off.
Now you're talking, turning reflection into prevention. That's powerful stuff.
That really is powerful advice. Use this knowledge, dig into these skills, and move towards smarter solutions and ultimately stronger connections. Thank you for diving deep with us today.